Let's go take a look at Moses, the Exodus story.
Thousands of years ago, a man named Moses lived in the country we know today as Egypt. Moses was a very special man. God chose him to be one of the greatest leaders of all time. Moses trusted God. He knew that no matter what, God would take care of him and the people he was leading out of Egypt. Long before they were freed, the Israelites lived as slaves.
You Israelites can't do anything right. Get over here and get to work.
We must do something about the Israelites. There are just too many of them. What if they decided to fight us? They might win.
Punish them. Make them work harder.
Bring me the Hebrew midwives. Kill every baby boy and every Hebrew family. Do as I say at once. I command it.
The evil Pharaoh ordered the Hebrew midwives to kill every baby boy that was born. The midwives knew it was wrong to kill babies, and they knew God would be angry if they killed them. Because they feared God more than they feared the Pharaoh, the midwives didn't kill the baby boys. When the Pharaoh found out, he ordered his soldiers to throw all the Hebrew baby boys into the Nile River.
Shh, my darling one. Shh, please. The Pharaoh's soldiers might hear you and kill you. Goodbye, precious one. I'm so afraid, my son. But I know God will take care of you.
Mother, I will watch to see what happens to him.
Your Majesty, there's a baby in this basket.
Why, you're right. It is a baby. A baby boy. How sweet he is. Oh, you are a beautiful boy. Please don't cry. Where did you come from? This is one of the Hebrew babies. His Majesty ordered them all thrown into the river. He will become my son. I will name him Moses.
Moses had a completely different life than his family or the other Hebrew people who were slaves in Egypt. The princess took him to live in the palace. She loved him as much as if he really were her son. But Moses knew that he was a Hebrew, even though his life was not like theirs. In those days, the Israelites did nothing but work. Even their children had to work all the time. Instead of working as a slave, Moses went to school and learned all about the world. Then one day...
What's wrong with you? Beating up an old man like that?
He's just a Hebrew slave. Who cares about him?
Moses buried the soldier. The next day, he saw two Hebrews fighting.
Who are you to be so high and mighty? You're not judge and jury over us. Are you thinking of killing us as you did the Egyptian soldier yesterday?
I must leave at once.
Moses was wise to leave. The Pharaoh heard that Moses had killed the Egyptian soldier. He sentenced Moses to death. Moses was away for 40 years, and during this time his life had changed a great deal. What was about to happen would change his life even more.
Where are you, little one? Time to go home. Hush now. You're okay.
Moses! Moses!
Here I am.
Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals. You are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Moses, I have seen the sadness of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries. I have come down to rescue them from Egypt. and take them to a land where they no longer will be slaves. I will bring them into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Moses, I have chosen you to lead my people away from the Pharaoh and out of Egypt.
Lord, I'm just a shepherd. I'm not a leader of men. Who am I that you should choose me to lead the Hebrews out of Egypt?
I will be with you, Moses. The elders of Israel will listen to you. You will tell the Pharaoh to let my people go. When you lead my people out of Egypt, you will all return to this mountain to worship me.
What if they do not believe me?
What is that in your hand, Moses?
It is my staff.
Throw it on the ground. Pick it up by the tail. This is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, has appeared to you. Use it as a sign to the people. Moses, put your hand inside your cloak, then take it out. Now, put your hand back inside your cloak. If no one believes the first miracle, then do this. If they believe neither miracle and refuse to listen to you, go to the river Nile, take some water from it in a jug, pour the water on the ground. It will turn into blood.
But Lord, I'm not a good speaker. How can I convince anyone that you sent me?
Moses, who do you think made you and every other living thing? I gave you your mouth so that you could speak. I gave you your ears so you could hear. I gave you your eyes so you could see. I will tell you what to say, and you will be able to say it.
Please send someone else, Lord. I am no good for this.
What about your brother Aaron? I know he is a good speaker. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be happy to see you. You will tell him what I have told you today. I will put my words in both of your mouths. You will tell him what to say, and it will be as if you were speaking. Go back to Egypt. The Pharaoh who wanted to kill you is dead. Find your brother Moses. Take your staff so that you can perform the miracles I have taught you.
As long as you are with me, Lord, I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid.
Moses did what God had told him to do. He returned to Egypt.
My advisors, weaklings that they are, seem to think that I must talk to the two of you.
God said you are to release the Israelites at once. We are to go to the desert where we will hold a feast in God's honor.
Release you so you can go to a feast in the desert? Oh, don't make me laugh. Who is your God that I should obey him? That I should let him take my slaves from their work? Get them out of here. Take the straw away from the Hebrew slaves who make bricks. Make their work even harder.
Why did you bring me here, Lord? Things have been worse for my people since I arrived. You have done nothing to rescue us.
Go back, Moses, you and your brother Aaron. The Pharaoh will not listen to you because his heart is hardened. Perform the miracles I have given you. You will find that the Pharaoh's heart will still be hard, but I will conquer him.
The pair of you will never learn, will you?
Aaron, throw down your staff so that it may become a snake.
Even though Aaron performed all the miracles that God had given Moses in the desert, the Pharaoh's heart was still hard. The Pharaoh would not let the Hebrew people go, and he made their lives even worse. Time after time, Moses and Aaron went to the Pharaoh, asking for permission to lead the Hebrew people out of Egypt. Each time, the Pharaoh laughed at them, And after each visit, God brought a new misery to the Egyptian people. After seeing the tremendous powers God had given Moses, the Pharaoh agreed to let the Hebrew people go if Moses would pray to the Lord to stop the thunder and hail. Moses prayed to the Lord, and the thunder and hail stopped. But every single time the Pharaoh changed his mind, one misery after another came to the Egyptian people. But God saved the Israelites from every plague.
Listen to me very carefully. The Pharaoh has refused again to let our people go. God is very angry, and he has told me what to do. Tonight, you must visit every Hebrew family in the city. Tell each family to place a bloodstain over their front doors. It is to be made from the blood of a perfect lamb. Tell them if they follow God's instructions, the Lord will not allow the destroyer to come into their houses.
Because the Pharaoh refused to let the Hebrew people go with Moses and Aaron, God sent the angel of death to Egypt. The Hebrew families were spared because their houses were marked with blood. In all the other houses, parents woke up to find their firstborn son dead. Even the firstborn of the animals were dead. The Pharaoh's family did not escape the angel of death either. Finally, the Pharaoh agreed to let the Hebrew people go. The Lord made the Egyptians give the Israelites their gold, silver, and clothing.
God will show us the way, Aaron, if we have faith. Look, over there. In the daytime, we will follow that pillar of cloud. At night, God will show us the way with a great pillar of fire.
God guided the Israelites with these glorious pillars of cloud and fire. Day or night, the Lord never left them. Again, the Pharaoh changed his mind.
The Pharaoh's soldiers are just behind that hill.
Do not be afraid. The Lord will deliver us. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still.
Moses, raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water. The Israelites will pass through on dry ground.
Fire lit up the Red Sea, allowing the people to see the waters parting. All night the winds blew, making a path of dry land across the sea. When the wind stopped blowing, the people saw that there was a wall of water to the right and to the left of the path. Moses and the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, and the Egyptians followed, but God protected the Israelites.
Let's get away from the Israelites!
The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt.
At last, Moses and his people were free from the evil Pharaoh and his army. They were all very grateful to the Lord for saving them. They all rejoiced in their heart and with their voices.
Let's go take a look at About This Disc.
As parents, teachers, or anyone associated closely with children, you are aware of the timely need for wholesome children's entertainment. Interlight Productions has responded to that need with a children's Bible series in CDI form. Children are naturally curious and eager to learn. CDI technology provides a new and exciting medium to enlighten, educate, and entertain today's children. Interlight's Bible stories and activities are designed to encourage strong biblical morals and ethics. Children learn valuable lessons based exclusively on the Bible while having many hours of fun. We suggest that the CDI Bible series be a supplement to your family's time of Bible reading. While children can utilize the stories and activities by themselves, we encourage you to view the series together. Interlight's goal is to provide children and adults alike with the much-needed biblical truth that will strengthen and encourage them in the years to come.
Let's go take a look at the Bible section.
More people read the Bible than any other book ever written, but that's not what makes it so special. The Bible is fully inspired by God. Inspired means God helped the authors write what He wanted to say. God directed the writing of the Bible, and He also helps us understand it. That's why people still study this very old book. No matter who you are or where you live, the Bible can teach you how to know God and how to live as He wants you to. The Bible isn't just one book. It's actually a collection of 66 books, which have been divided into chapters. Each chapter is made up of verses. To learn how to find a book or a verse in the Bible, return to the User's Guide menu, then select Book and Verse Finder on that menu. People read the Bible to learn about God's great love. They also read it to learn how to express their love to Him in worship, prayer, and praise. These are all ways that we can honor God and communicate with Him. The poetry and songs found in the Bible teach us how people like King David worshiped God. Many people memorize parts of the Bible. As people learn about the Bible and worship God, they become closer to God. We learn many serious and important things in the Bible. This treasure chest of wisdom has lots of interesting facts. If you'd like to learn more Bible facts, return to the User's Guide menu, then select Bible Fun Facts on that menu. The Bible is divided into two main parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Testament means covenant or promise. In the Old Testament, we learn what happened from the time God created the earth until about 400 years before Jesus was born. The New Testament teaches us about the time from Jesus' birth through the beginnings of the Christian Church. The last book in the Bible, Revelation, is mainly about the future. Even though it's good to know these interesting facts about the Bible, the most important thing is this. When you ask God to teach you about Himself as you read the Bible, He will. Make the Bible a special part of your life and read it daily. It is God's exciting message to you.
The Bible has two sections. They're the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament starts with the story of how God created the world. The New Testament starts with the birth of Jesus. Both sections of the Bible are divided into books. Added together, there are 66 books in the Bible. Some children memorize all the names of the books in the Bible as part of their Sunday school lessons. When they've learned all the books, the children are able to say them just like you can say the alphabet. Do you know all the books? The books of the Bible are divided into chapters, just like other books you read. These chapters are then divided into verses. Each verse is numbered, which makes it easy to find a verse. For example, Psalm 23:1 is one of the most well-known verses of the Bible. It reads, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want." In order to find that verse, look in the table of contents in the front of your Bible. You will find the books of the Bible listed there. look for Psalms. Turn to the page given for Psalms and flip through to chapter 23. When you find the correct chapter, look for the verse that's numbered 1. There, you'll find the verse you've just read. If you know the book, chapter, and verse number, you can find any scripture reference in the Bible. By the way, Psalms is one of the favorite books of the Bible. It is said to be a collection of poetry, verses, and songs written mainly by King David. The word psalm comes from the Greek word psalmos, which was used to translate a Hebrew word that means song. Sometimes the book is called psalter, which means a stringed instrument. The Bible holds all sorts of wonderful stories and history. And just think, now you can find any verse in the whole Bible. Now all you need are more verses to find, and you'll be on your way.
Let's go take a look at the Pyramid Pursuit game.
You have fallen into the deep, dark depths of Pyramid Pursuit. To escape, you must make your moves wisely. Watch out for the Pharaoh's guards. If they catch you, you're in trouble.
An intruder! Sick him, Fido!
You have reached the Chamber of Doom, sealed forever in the deep, dark depths of Pyramid Pursuit. Try again if you dare.
Remember to keep a light in your eye and walk past trouble.
You lost? Come closer. I have a clue for you. Try searching the darkness for light.
I'm a man of no sin. Come closer and I'll give you a clue. Psst! Hey, you. Go that way.
Can you see the handwriting on the wall?
An intruder! Sick him, Fido!
We'll squash you in the ground if you try and squeeze past us.
These men are backing you into a corner. Do you believe God will save you? Good choice. God has defeated your enemies. Let us rejoice in His salvation. In the story of Moses, how did the burning bush appear?
Hand over your money, and I'll let you move ahead. If you listen to my words of wisdom, you can't go wrong. Come closer, my dear. Just follow my eyes. They'll tell you which way to go.
The clue to your path is hidden in the wall. Go ahead. Search the wall for a clue about which way to go. Which do you think is the lesser of two evils? You've been overtaken by Pharaoh's guards. You're in trouble now. They knock you out and leave you in another part of the pyramid. Remember to keep a light in your eye and walk past trouble.
Ah, it was very good that we met. I can help you.
Avoiding bad influences is good, but watch out for a grouchy pet up ahead.
Look what we've got here. Are you hungry, Fido?
Whew, that was close. Now, where should you go? Can you see the handwriting on the wall?
An intruder! Sick him, Fido!
Whew, that was close. Now, where should you go? Search for a way out, and you'll find it. You hear a curious sound. It sounds like someone snoring. Which door is it coming from? You've stumbled upon the Pharaoh's guards. You must quickly and quietly choose a door.
I've caught you, you intruder! Just where do you think you're going?
This becomes a right or wrong decision. Go with the right decision. You've been overtaken by Pharaoh's guards. You're in trouble now. They knock you out and leave you in another part of the pyramid.
You lost? Come closer. I have a clue for you. You may lose your way if you don't leave this path.
Hand over your money, and I'll let you move ahead. It looks dark and dangerous to the left. Be careful about your decision. Terror, pit, and snare await you. Be careful.
I'm just a poor beggar. Will you help me?
You've laid down your life and have been delivered to a new path. Be careful of what lies ahead.
I'm an idol worshipped by many. There's someone downstairs who worships me. Would you like to meet him?
You hear a curious sound. It sounds like someone snoring. Which door is it coming from? You've stumbled upon the Pharaoh's guards. You must quickly and quietly choose a door. Be careful, or you could end up croaking. Choose the best path by faith. Go ahead. Search the wall for a clue about which way to go.
You have reached the Chamber of Doom, sealed forever in the deep, dark depths of Pyramid Pursuit. Try again if you dare.
Let's go take a look at the Tell Me More section.
The country of Egypt is old enough to have an ancient history. The great pharaohs of Egypt began to rule the country about 3,000 years before Jesus was born. They built the pyramids, which served as graves and contained many of the pharaoh's possessions. The Bible tells us that the Israelites originally moved to Egypt when the last of the great pharaohs ruled. Joseph was the person responsible for bringing the Hebrew people to Egypt. He went to Egypt because his brothers sold him as a slave. They were jealous of him. Instead of rebelling at what happened to him, Joseph worked as hard as he could for the Pharaoh after he came to Egypt. Eventually, the Pharaoh began to trust Joseph. In appreciation, the Pharaoh allowed Joseph to bring the Hebrew people to Egypt so that they could make a living. The Hebrew people eventually became paid servants or slaves. The Nile River had a great effect on Egypt. Without it, the country would have been a desert. Nothing would have grown without the Nile. Each year when the river flooded, its waters spread across the land and made farming possible. Besides supplying water for farming, the Nile River also was a highway for the people. Since much of the country was desert, almost everyone lived along the river and traveled up and down the river by boat. In ancient times, the Egyptians and Israelites lived very simply. Most families lived in small villages along the Nile River. Some people farmed. Others raised animals like goats and sheep. The Egyptians and Israelites had similar lives in many ways, but there was a distinct difference in their belief in God. The Israelites believed in and worshiped the true God. The ancient Egyptians didn't worship the true and living God, but rather many gods who looked like men and animals. They believed they would continue to live after death in a place that was like earth. That is why the pharaohs built the pyramids as places to be buried. The pyramids contained temples and rooms for everything the Egyptians thought they would need for life after death. The country of Egypt was a very advanced society. In the areas of art, sculpture, poetry, writing, and engineering, they were far ahead of the other societies of people that lived during the same time.
Plagues are terrible disasters that happen to crops, water supplies, trees, livestock, and even our health. In the story of Moses, the Israelites cried to God about their misery and suffering in Egypt. God sent 10 plagues to Egypt because the wicked Pharaoh would not let the Israelites leave the country. The plagues were part of God's great plan to take the Israelites out of Egypt and to show that He was the one true God. The Pharaoh resisted God's plan and refused to let the Israelites leave Egypt. God sent one terrible crisis after another to punish the Pharaoh for his stubbornness. The plagues proved the infinite power of the one true God, who was not like the imaginary gods of Egypt. The plagues showed how powerful our God could be. He spared the Hebrews when He sent the plagues. Only the Egyptian people suffered. The first plague God sent to the Egyptians turned the waters of the Nile River into blood. Next, a plague of frogs hopped all over Egypt, going into the homes and even the beds of the Egyptian people. Then gnats were everywhere, stinging people and animals. The fourth plague was a swarm of flies that filled the air like dark clouds. The fifth plague was a deadly disease that killed all the livestock. The sixth occurred when God told Moses to throw ashes in the air. Moses did, and the dust went everywhere. The Egyptian people discovered that the dust gave them and their animals terrible sores. The next plague was a violent storm of hail that was strong enough to kill people and animals as it fell. It also destroyed the Egyptians' crops. Then came the 8th plague, locusts, or flying insects which ate the plants and crops damaged by the hailstorm. Then God sent darkness over all the land. It lasted for 3 days. Because the Egyptians worshipped the sun god, no light meant that their false god did not exist. Even this plague didn't persuade the Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. Finally, God sent the 10th and worst plague. The 10th plague was the death of the firstborn child in every Egyptian family. Even the firstborn of the animals died. The Israelites' children escaped by God's divine direction. To understand more about this, look at the Tell Me More on Passover.
To the Israelites, the act of sacrifice was a very important part of a relationship with God. To make a sacrifice is to offer something to God as a gift, and to show your commitment to Him. It is a form of worship in which an offering is made to please God or to find His favor. At this time, the Israelites made sacrifices to show their love and obedience to God. In the time of Moses, a sacrifice might be an animal like an ox, a sheep, a goat, or a bird. Other sacrifices were flour, bread, corn, grain, wine, oil, or incense. The choice of the sacrifice depended on the reason for the offering. The most common sacrifice was an animal. On the altar in the outer court of the tabernacle, the Israelites would offer animals to God as a way of confessing their sins. Sometimes the sacrifice would represent payment for breaking certain laws against God or man. People also made sacrifices to express gratefulness to God and to celebrate fellowship with Him. When Aaron and Moses first approached the Pharaoh, they asked him to let the Israelites go into the wilderness to make a sacrifice to God. They also asked for permission to celebrate a feast of God, which was the same event. A sacrifice often meant a feast. Following some sacrifices of animals, part of the meat was roasted and eaten by the people. There were many rules about the correct ways to offer sacrifices. These rules can be found in the Bible in the book of Leviticus. Rules were not the most important part of the ceremony in God's eyes. It was more important to Him that the people were obedient. Unless they wanted to obey God, their sacrifices were worthless. Since God has accepted the death of His Son, Jesus Christ, as the final sacrifice for all our sins, there is no longer a need for Christians to offer traditional sacrifices.
Although God is a spirit, He reveals Himself to us in ways that we can see and understand. Throughout the Bible, God revealed Himself to different people in different ways. Sometimes He spoke to them. Sometimes He appeared as a man. Sometimes He took on a non-human form. Theophany is the word we use to describe the times that God lets people see or hear Him in some form. Theophany comes from two Greek words meaning God and to show. God revealed Himself to Moses as through a burning bush in the wilderness. Moses came close to the bush to find out how it could be burning without turning into ashes. That is when God spoke to Moses and told him that his job would be to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. When God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, He came down on Mount Sinai in fire. The mountain was covered with smoke, and it trembled violently. God revealed Himself to the people of Israel in the form of a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. The word pillar means a column that supports a building. The pillars of fire and cloud stood over the tabernacle. The Israelites worshiped God in the tabernacle or tent during their journey. This theophany was a constant reminder that God was watching over the Israelites during their journey in the wilderness. Throughout the Bible, we see other ways that God revealed Himself. God also spoke to Noah and told him to build the ark. In the book of Genesis, we learn that God showed himself to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. God's greatest revelation of himself was Jesus. Through his Son, Jesus, God showed himself to all mankind. Today, God reveals himself to us through his written word, the Bible. Passover is one of the most important celebrations to Jewish people. Passover is when they remember how God spared the lives of their ancestors' firstborn children. God made it possible for their people to escape from slavery in Egypt. The name of the holiday, Passover, describes what God did because of the Pharaoh's cruelty. God commanded the angel of death to kill the firstborn child of every Egyptian family. The angel was to pass over and spare the Israelites' firstborn children. The angel of death knew to pass over the houses where the Israelites lived because God told Moses to put a special sign on each front door. The sign was blood from an unblemished or perfect lamb, painted on the outside door frame. Today, lamb is prepared as the main part of the Passover meal. The meal also includes a special bread. Because the Israelites were in such a hurry to leave Egypt, their baked bread didn't have time to rise. The yeast, or leaven, which is the ingredient that makes bread puff up, was left out. Today's Passover meal includes unleavened bread. In fact, Passover is called the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. The Jews' Passover meal also includes bitter herbs to remind them of their slavery in Egypt. God told Moses that he would spare the firstborn children of Israel when he saw the mark of the Passover lamb's blood. In the same way, God will spare those who have accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior from eternal death. Miracles are often unexpected, but they're more than just unusual or remarkable. Miracle is a very powerful word. Miracle means a marvelous event, one that produces wonder. Miracles are events through which God reveals himself to people by making things happen that do not normally happen in our world. Remember the burning bush? It was God's way of showing himself to Moses. As a rule, a bush that has been set on fire will soon completely burn up. The Bible tells us that a bush burned while God spoke to Moses, but the bush was not harmed. It never turned to ashes. God uses miracles to reveal what he wants people to do. He also uses miracles to remind them of his magnificent power. When God told Moses to speak to the wicked Pharaoh of Egypt, he gave Moses the power to perform miracles. God turned Moses' staff into a snake and then back to a staff again. He also caused Moses' hand to become diseased. When Moses returned his hand to his robe, it was well. When the wicked Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites leave Egypt, God turned the water of the Nile River into blood. God brought the Egyptians plagues of frogs, flies, and locusts, lice, boils, and hail. He spared his children, the Israelites, from these torments. God even caused the sky to turn dark as night during the day. Because God is all-powerful, he can do anything. God is always watching over us, just as he watched over the Israelites. God's miracles teach us how powerful he is. Through the miracles we read about in the Bible, God teaches us about himself. The miracles the Israelites experienced constantly reminded them that God loved and cared for them. It's exciting to know that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Let's go take a look at the playroom.
Look at the burning bush. Why do the leaves not turn to ash? This is surely a sign of the power of God.
Moses, here I am. I'm calling you out of this land. Go back to Egypt, Moses, listen to me.
Moses heard the voice of God. Moses heard the call. Mighty armies could not keep them away. It took a miracle to show him. It took a miracle to see that God would always be beside him faithfully.
Take your staff and throw it down. It came to life and crawled on the ground. The snake is surely a sign of the power of God.
Pick it up now by its tail. Do not fear, you cannot fail. Go back to Egypt, Moses, listen to me.
Moses heard the voice of God. Moses heard the call. Mighty armies could not keep them away. It took a miracle
play it cool. All my friends are breaking rules. Take a test, do my best, they whisper in my ear. A or D on number 3, they ask me for the answer, please. Tell them what they want to know or end up all alone.
Moses and me, backed up to the Red Sea. Moses and me, we've got a choice to make. Leading the way, I've got to do it. I'm gonna make the right call. This is the day, I'm gonna choose it. I'm gonna stand up tall and lift up the staff of God.
Out at break, feeling great, took the test and passed. Here they come, should I run, should I have given in? Just in time, a friend of mine stands beside me in the line. There they go, now I know I'd do it all again.
Moses and me, backed up to the Red Sea. Moses and me, we've got a choice to make. Leading the way, I've got to do it. I'm gonna make the right call. This is the day, I'm gonna choose it. I'm gonna stand up tall and lift up the staff of God. You've been good to me. You've helped me take a stand. And when temptation comes at me, you're there to take my hand. Leading the way, I've got to do it. I'm gonna make the right call. This is the day, I'm gonna choose it. I'm gonna stand up tall and lift up the staff of God. The people stood by the waters that stretched out deep and wide, and they wondered how they'd ever cross and get to the other side.
Then they heard the Pharaoh's soldiers riding hard and riding fast, and they knew Jehovah the Mighty One would make them free and last.
Moses, how can you help us? We're through being slaves. Moses asked the Lord to show you a way across these waves.
Then Moses cried in a voice so strong, Lord, please show the way. And he stood there praying for so long, it seemed they would lose the day.
Then just as the Pharaoh's soldiers were as close as they could be,
Moses spread his hands out wide and God made a path in the sea.
Moses, this is a miracle. We'll never more be slaves. Thanks to the Lord for showing you a way across these waves. And the people crossed right over. It was just as Moses said. The Lord had shown them all a way to cross that sea named Red.
And the waters closed on the soldiers, and the people knelt in the sand.
And they bowed their heads in thanks and joy. They were headed for the promised land. They were headed for the promised land.
your face is blue. But that's one thing I will never do. All your people slaves will be to build a mighty temple for me.
Moses, Moses, talking to the Pharaoh. Moses, Moses, getting nowhere. Oh, how can he make the Pharaoh see that he's got to let his people go free? Pharaoh thought he could have his say until God sent all the plagues his way.
Get your people away from me. I've changed my mind. You can all go free. Brat.
Moses, Moses, talking to the Pharaoh. Moses, Moses, getting somewhere. Finally made the Pharaoh see that he had to let God's Pharaoh see. That he had to let God's Pharaoh see. That he had to let God's people go free.
Whoops. Yippee! 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 Outstanding!
Moses, I have chosen you to lead my people away from the Pharaoh and out of Egypt.
Yep. 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 Great job.
Pharaoh would not let the Hebrew people go, and he made their lives even worse.
you're right. It is a baby.
Go back to Egypt. The Pharaoh who wanted to kill you is dead.